Hello, everybody. My name is Vivek Venkatram, Senior Director, Client Services at Vee Technologies. Welcome. Today we have with us Dr. Tony Kollarmalil. Hi, Doctor. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Vic?
I'm doing great. I know that you're busy involved with the myriad of our clinical affairs that you are responsible for. So thank you for taking some time to meet with me today. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
You took the time to write a fascinating white paper from the risk adjustment perspective, and you take a specific client story and take us through that and some insights to gain from that. Why do you think this particular client example is so relevant to our industry or to our audience?
Yeah, the reason I chose this client and this particular scenario was that I wanted to showcase the collaborative effort that was we had in place with the teams in India, as well as the importance of having an onshore team that can coordinate with the client in case the client has any issues with the work, has any complaints, so that we can collaborate with the client, and I, as a physician, could then work with the physicians at that work for the client, so that we have a mutual understanding of any improvements that we can do to our process, and so that we can be that sort of bridge in between India and the client on stateside, so that we're on the client's time and we're able to also then relay that information back to our teams in India so that they can work on the process, on improving the process.
Yeah, talk us through the example that you wrote to. In the sense, I'm wondering about what some of those challenges were. If you take a step back and look at the different areas of challenges that you face, could you give us an overview of some of those challenges that you and the team tackled?
So one of the challenges that we faced with the teams in India was that some of the clinical understandings that we had stateside and the clinical understanding that we have from the India side, there was a clash, sort of. So what our team on the US side was able to do was work with the client, understand their exact needs, where we were making mistakes, and so that we then communicate that with the teams in India. We have hour-long sessions with them to make them understand what the client asked was specifically, so that then we could improve the process.
It's great. It sounds like, I mean, so what you're talking about is really being that bridge, right, between our delivery operations and the client here stateside. What kind of services are we providing in this example, and what does the other side of that look like in terms of the relationship now as you've overcome some of those challenges?
Sure. So it is the service that we were providing was risk adjustment. If you look at it broadly, it's not just risk adjustment, but a lot of these are clinical reviews that we do. These clinical reviews go to physicians that work for the client. These actually impact lives of patients. I mean, our clinical reviewers identify a condition that can drastically alter the patient's lives. And it's important that the physicians understand why we're asking them these questions. And so the team in India on stateside is able to provide that explanation. See, the India team did the review. This is what we found. Here, we provide that to the physician and ask them to, in real time, address this with the patient so that they can obviously improve the lives of their patients and also prevent adverse outcomes, as we call them.
Yeah, I've never, there must be very few things that are more critically core to, the patient experience than these types of services. So close out for me with, put yourself in a client perspective here. You're looking to outsource or looking for a partner in terms of setting up a new risk adjustment relationship. What would be your takeaways for a client of that nature as we leave here today? And as you're reading through your paper, what would be important for that client to make sure that they establish with that vendor?
So one of the major points here to take away is that it is important to have a partner onshore, like we do, to interact real time and have that relationship with the client. And it's also important for that team onshore to have a good relationship with the team in India as well, so that it's a three-way street kind of thing. So we have to all gel at the same time, so that there's no miscommunication, there are no gaps in communication. And so from an outsourcing standpoint, a lot of times clients will complain that they never hear from the team in India, or they will have a difficulty communicating with the teams in India. And here we are able to avoid that entirely and work with them so that we understand exactly what they're asking us to do. And if things go bad as well, it can go bad, and in that case, then we are able to work with the client, understand what the issue was, and solve that for them.
That's really well articulated. What I hear from you is it falls into the right people, making sure you have the right talent and the right points of contact, about establishing the right processes, right, from a guideline perspective, a workflow perspective, and a business rhythm perspective, and then making sure from a tools perspective that you have the right technologies and that the people on both sides of the equation are well enabled. And I know that in the world of risk adjustment, with so much at stake in terms of the clinical value that our teams are delivering to patients, that taking that focus that you showed with this specific client example out in the West is imperative. It can scale to organizations of all types who are looking for the right vendors. So we're sure happy that we have you sitting on top of our clinical program with so much at stake. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, Doctor, to meet with us and to share some of your thoughts. I'm sure that our readers hope you enjoy Tony's white paper. It's impressive, it's specific, it takes us through a client story and speaks to some of the insights that could really be great takeaways for any of you, whatever side of the equation you're on, or whatever your vantage point is that brought you to this paper today. Thank you, Doctor, and thanks everybody for joining.